When you run a business, your employees are getting all kinds of valuable data from your customers, your sales reps, your support staff, your product management teams, your marketing team, your C-suite, you name it. All of these different siloed teams and more are getting tons of data from customers every day, but it can be difficult to get a unified look at all of that data in a way that can help you make the right business decisions for the whole company. ThunderAct is here to help you see the big picture so you can make big decisions. It connects seamlessly with the tools your employees use to capture customer interactions like CRM, sales data and management software, documentation repositories, and more. Using advanced AI and machine learning, it pours through the data, identifying trends, threats, and opportunities you may have otherwise missed. Then, it presents what it's learned in an easy-to-understand visual format, one that you can easily drill down into to get more insight. With ThunderAct watching your data, you can get valuable insights and actionable recommendations about how your customers see you, emerging competitors and new players in your marketplace, trending themes or technologies, issues with your products and services that need fixed if they're negative or exploited if they're positive, challenges your customers have doing business with you, what advertising, marketing, or PR moves you need to make, staffing issues you need to address, and more. And once you've decided to do something new based on what you've learned, ThunderAct allows you to take action right away with the business tools you already use. It will help you immediately do things like send meeting invites, open a campaign in your CRM, start a new project, and more. To learn more about ThunderAct's incredible AI-powered data analysis and business advisory capabilities, visit ThunderAct.com to start a free trial, or email us at info@thunderact.com today.
Great. So we are coming towards the end of the day, and I am excited to kind of take back the wheels and tell you a little bit about ThunderAct and what we do. And I know I'm risking a bit of repeating myself, but we do have slightly different people. First of all, thank you, everybody. Really, thank you again. I hope this day was informative and was interesting, and you got to hear about the various different ways about how decision-making is being done from different point of views. And we've heard also about ThunderAct during the day, and I hope that was a bit intriguing for you as well to want to learn a little bit more about that too. So hopefully I'll be able to address that in this session. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I will address them as we go. So let's just get started. So I want to start actually by telling you a story. So while we're not yet late enough during the day to do a real bedtime story, I want to tell you a little bit about the background, how ThunderAct was formed and how did it start. So a few years ago, I was in a role of managing a customer success organization for a very big company. And at these days, I was relocating to Silicon Valley. And at my first day here in the office, there was also a new VP of product management who's joined the team. And we were very briefly introduced in the hallway, and they told him, hey, she will be your best friend. And funny enough, we did become best friends. But what actually happened is about 2 or 3 weeks after we both joined the local office, I suddenly heard my name being screamed from one of the offices. And I came in and I saw the VP of product management sitting in front of a gigantic whiteboard with 4 different strategies in front of him, holding his head between his hands. And he was just looking at me and told me, please, you got to tell me, what do our customers want? And I was looking at the board and I was looking at him, and I thought to myself, there are many ways of addressing it. So we looked at strategy number 1, and I told him, you know what, this could be really great for one of our healthcare company customers. And strategy number 2 would be really amazing for one of the software vendors that we work with. And strategy number 3 would work great for one of the retail companies that have been our customers. And you know, about strategy number 4, you might want to consult with support first. And my very open and candid feedback from him apparently didn't satisfy him. And he was pretty irritated by that. And he said, figure it out, and left the room. And that sent me on a journey on trying to understand not only what do customers want, but how can I reflect that to our executives who need to make strategic business decisions that will be based on actual data and based on our customers' needs and desires. To do that, I have decided to start from the beginning, and I Googled, and back at the time, there were very few results. Actually, there were 17 results only. And one lecture I was able to find in a local conference, which didn't bring me far enough. So I decided to go back to basics and actually ask the customers, what do they want? So I reached out to my favorite 15 customers and I asked them a bunch of open questions, like, how do you feel about our brand? What is your job definition? What would it take to get us from number 5, for example, to 6? And what do you want us to actually invest in? And because my memory is not really great, I just sat down and wrote everything in Quip documents. Quip is, since then, was acquired by Salesforce. And I ended up with about 15 different documents that outline what do the customers said in our meetings. However, they weren't very structured. And we had to find a way, I had to find a way on how can I go back to this VP of product management and show him what do they want. So I started going document by document and trying to understand what different trends, what different topics in our business have been repeating during these conversations I had with them. And somewhere along document number either 4 or 6, I can't really remember which one it was, there was a reference that they have a lot of support tickets and they're having issues with support. And that sent me to the support ticketing system at the time to look what are those problems that they're having. And while I was looking at the endless amount of data for just one customer, and one of the tickets, there was also a reference saying that the ticket is so critical because it is holding off a big deal. And that sent me to our CRM to look at the CRM, what's going on with the opportunities, and try to get the full picture. The one thing I understood is that I'm drowning in data. So I decided to take a step back and just go back to my little summaries, my 15 summaries. I put this nice dashboard for a VP of product management, and very proudly I went to him and I showed it to him and he said, wow, that's awesome. This is not scalable, but you should open a startup. We were both laughing in kind of parting ways. The strategy was chosen, days to tell that it was a very problematic strategy. But about a couple of years later, the idea of this startup that I came up with, this idea, kept staying in my head. And I decided I have to do something about it. So to try to understand what is the challenge here is that when businesses make business decisions, being strategy decisions, product decisions, even training decisions on how to move the organization forward, currently most organizations are basing their decisions based on anecdotal information or very vocal individuals, such as the sales manager who had this opportunity that was blocked by the support ticket. But at the same time, we have so many customer-facing teams who work from customers day in and day out, being sales, support, customer success, project manager, marketing, R&D teams, even, and executives. And each one of them is keeping a lot of information in various different tools. And we're unable to really make the decisions based on this data, or even track what was the outcome of the actions that we have taken on these people who work with customers day in and day out. So if you think about it, it kind of takes a village, but the village is very fragmented. Everybody works in their own tool. And this is where ThunderAct comes in. But right before we jump to that, I want to actually give you an example here. And if we, up until now we had a story time, then let's play a little numbers game. So if we take a hypothetical company of about 1,000 employees, and assume that 30% of the employees are customer facing, being sales, support, customer success, executive, and other types of functions. And each one of them has on average 10 interactions a day. And this is a pretty conservative number. Assuming we have 261 working days a year, if you do the math here, we're coming to over 700,000 in customer interactions a year that we wish we would have been a fly on a wall to understand what's happening there, but it's not really possible. Now let's take an example, and this is a bit of an older example. This is from January 2018. At that time, Workday had 8,200 employees. If we take again by the math of 30% of the employees work with customers, that gets us to 2,460 employees. Based on information I have from Workday, they have an average actually 15 customer interactions a day, and they say that's a very conservative number. Again, 261 working day a year. And if you do the math again, we're ending up with over 9.5 million interactions a year. How many flies can we put on these walls and make sure not only they're staying in these meetings, but they're able to articulate the value in a similar way, so we will understand and agree on how to handle the strategy in the right way. And that's where ThunderAct comes in. ThunderAct is the only tool that enables the enterprises to automatically and continuously analyze the impact and performance of their business critical decisions by analyzing the customer interactions digital challenges. By using ThunderAct, enterprises are able to handle what we call the enterprise headaches, or in a more politically correct way, the enterprise challenges. Starting from building traction, which is a challenge that every company has, from small startup to the big enterprises. You always have a challenge of building traction. Once you actually have your customers, keeping their maturity and making sure they continue to buy, either expand to new product or buy more licenses, is also a challenge that many of the companies are facing. Next in line, and this is very, very relevant for COVID days, budget changes. Suddenly we have less people working, we have more budget changes. We need to address these challenges that are happening, and how do enterprises actually do that? Next in line, we have new revenue channels. So again, very relevant for COVID. We need to start and think about new channels, on actually how to address new revenue channels. And this is not just a challenge of today or small companies. This is a challenge everywhere, where we have business development teams, market development teams, and so on. Next, we would have product market fit. And this is a problem, again, from the early phases of a company till the adulthood of it. One of the examples that we saw during the day in the videos is a company that kept releasing products even though there was no product market fit. And how do you identify that, and how do you react to it? And once you actually do have a product market fit, you have a good problem to have. You have a competitive market. How do you react to your competitive market? How do you understand what does the competitive market need and want from you? And then lastly, sad enough, there is almost no company out there who doesn't lose customers, and this is where churn comes into play. And ThunderAct will allow to identify those signals that will indicate why churn is happening and how to address that. The uniqueness of ThunderAct comes in 6 different aspects. First of all, we look at any records that is customer-facing interactions. This is a very unique point of view because we're not looking on any like social media at this point or surveys. We're looking at very high-quality data, which is the direct customer interactions, and that's what we're analyzing. Why do we do that? Because we're hoping to break the silos. Silos will be kept forever, sadly, but we're trying to break those. And we heard that in various sessions during the day. We heard it from Anna, we heard it from Gary, we heard it from Adi, we heard it from Moshe and from Guy and from everybody. We have silos and we want to try and break them. We want to try and make sure that everybody's staying on the same line and that we're thinking together as a team. And for that, we have developed ThunderAct as an open integration platform, allowing to integrate as many systems as possible to be able to create an easy and intuitive visualization of what is happening. To do that, ThunderAct is making the most of AI. And for those who know me, I'm not a big fan of just throwing letters out there to the air. We're using natural language processing, NLP, and machine learning to be able to optimize our analysis and give the best results out there, which are both part of AI. And lastly, and that's probably where a big part of the magic is happening, it doesn't require a culture change. If you already chose the best of breed tools for your organization, stick with it. It's good. Using our open architecture, we're able to connect with that. So that was ThunderAct. What I would like to do now is to jump and show you a demo of the actual application. And when I was actually planning for this demo, I was debating if I should show it on our production environment, which you can just go on ThunderAct.com and start a trial. We'll send you a code within 48 hours, or if I should show you our next version that we're working on. And I decided to be brave, and you will be brave as well, knowing that there might be some unexpected bugs coming out. And as you can see, this is our staging environment, not production, but I'm really excited by it, and I really want to share it with you. So to actually show you the value of ThunderAct, I needed to analyze customer interactions. But us and ThunderAct, we're still a pretty small team, so we don't have that much information. So I was thinking, how can I create a content that will show what is the value of ThunderAct without actually using some production data that is being in use, and still have a theme that we can all relate to. And how about Zoom? What if I could have access to Zoom? So obviously I don't, but the next best thing was to go on online reviews channels and go and look into online reviews. And while the tool is not built for online reviews, and I had to do some tweaking of the data to make sure that we're not showing any junk here because of the nature of the demo, this is based on 250 reviews online that we found on Zoom that I have run ThunderAct analysis on. And I found all of these insights. And what do I mean when I say all of these insights, when all you see is circles on the screen? So first of all, let me correct you. These are not circles. These are bubbles. And the bubbles, as you can see, they have a size, they have a location, and they have letters on them. So first of all, let's tackle the elephant in the room. The little text on it, like KYC3, this is a key or an ID for every insight, just to allow an easier level of discussion on an insight. So each one of the bubbles here has a size between 5, this is 2, I don't think we have any 1s in here. So it has a size. The size represents how frequent have we found it versus within the files that we've analyzed, in this case within the 250 files. And once I actually hover on it, I can see I saw this insight of a meeting. So what I've learned here that is Zoom is being used in meetings 381 times within the 250 files I analyzed. So this is a really big thing. And the color itself, that represents the category. So whenever I found insights, I can define based on my organization, based on my needs, based on my filters, based on whatever information I want to build, how do I categorize the different categories? And in that case, I chose 4 categories. One of them is customer journey. So all of the things that I have found to be relevant to a customer journey of using Zoom. So that would be how much time I allocate, any problems that I have identified, the fact that many people have mentioned free versions, they mentioned it's enough time for us to actually being able to catch it, and lastly, that they see Zoom as an app. The next category I found is features, and for that I found various interesting features out there. Being the video, the camera, having the same thing, but representing in a different aspect. The call or the microphone. We have screen and multi-screen. And now suddenly you can see a very interesting thing here because the size here is 3 versus 2. So having the screen relevant aspects, so screen sharing most probably and multi-screen and things like that, that got a bigger attention than other features that you see under the category. Next in line here, I've created a category for things that I can learn about the customers that actually use Zoom. For example, students. Within those 250 reviews that we've analyzed, a lot of times came to be that these are students. And if we hover over it, we can see it has 103 instances, so that's quite a lot versus the other ones here. But I can also see that KYC3, that it was used for a meeting, that's a very big agenda, and that it's being used by companies' employees. So that gives me an ability of size the insight one versus the other. But then you can come and ask me, but no, how did you choose if it's going to be marketing or sales or product or R&D? And why is quality something negative while in others it's positive? So that goes into the unique IP that ThunderAct has. The location of the bubble of the chart will represent where is it in the life cycle, and we're actually tracking the changes there. So in our future versions, we'll be able to tell what has changed over time and why. And our ability to do that comes from the way of actually drilling down into the data. And just before I jump into that, I want to also just finish the point I started, that the verticals here is what we call tags. These are the different processes or groups within the organization who will be the sole owner of the insight, but not the only one, and I'll get to it once we'll drill down. And the second aspect is the thumbs ups, thumbs down, and neutral. Now, you might think this is the sentiment, but it is not. And I will give you an example. If we would see a sentence that says, I would love if you have an e-signature feature. As a sentiment, I would love is something very positive, but when we think about it, I would love if you had it, that means we're missing it. So the way that me as a company would see it, e-signature would be something very negative, while the sentiment could be positive. So the impact here, the thumbs up and thumbs down, is a way for us to understand what is the impact of the insight on the organization, while when drilling down, we'll also have the information about the sentiment that will allow us to do some easier assignment or having a clue on what the sentiment, on what the impact should be. So this is the Thunder chart. It's basically a great dashboard that will allow you to understand what are all the insights that are happening within the organization. Now, you might say, but how would I know where it's coming from? So let's take an example. And all I need to do is just click on the bubble, the circle on the bubble. And once the spinner here will finish, we will see all the sources of where we've actually seen the reference to a meeting within those reviews. And again, my apologies, this is the development environment, so there might be a hiccup here or there. I hope not, but let's just see where that goes. Okay, here we go. So the meeting, the reference to meeting, as we can see, was mentioned in over 100, over than 200 patients. And we can see here, once we're drilling down in what context it was mentioned. So use Zoom for day-to-day meetings. That's really interesting. Or no physically, but to witness each meeting of a distance course. So our ability now to decide what are we doing about this is actually based on data. How many times have we said we're going to develop feature A, and then sales came by and said, no, wait, this is not really what we need. Or alternatively, sales came to product management and say, hey, we need this feature to be developed, and product management says, but why? But you were never able to actually justify that. And the examples are all over the place, and coming from any decision maker or any organization that really wants to serve their customers in the best way possible. And to do that, we're actually introducing the actions. The goal of the actions is to create full visibility between the different teams. So as I said, while there is a main owner for the insight, in that case being the product team, still the actions here can be done by multiple people. So for example, open a sales campaign can be done in Salesforce by John Johnson. But while Emma Davis here will create the marketing collateral, and we can create many of those in the different tools, while we have the ability of viewing all the actions that are being done under a meeting. So once we have our review, we all sit in front of one chart presenting all of the insights that we have, but we have the ability of actually drilling down and decide as a team what are the various activities that we're taking to handle it. And of course, everything here is customizable to your organization, to your needs. And we integrate with various amount of systems, and we're also taking some additional requests for systems. So for example, here we can integrate with Salesforce and with Zoom and with Dropbox. And at the end of the day, just managing all the insights is a very easy task to do and very convenient. I look very quickly if there are any questions. Okay. So there are no questions. So the one thing I do want to emphasize here is that I oftentimes come with, I present that to someone and I'm getting a feedback of, but you can't really surprise us. We already know all of that. And the funny thing is that when I do hear that, when I'm showing the initial screen, only once we really double click on it, and oftentimes we do see items that we didn't know before. For example, a big security company that I've recently done a demo for, and they said they already know everything, and then suddenly we saw an insight about small environments. And once we actually double clicked on that, we saw that the people who are being active in social media, again, because this is the source that is available to me, is those clients that they have who have very small deployments, but this is not their target market. So these are the ones who actually influence their ability to gain new customers. So this was a task for marketing to address that, or for the CTO office to see what are they going to do about this. Another example is from one of the companies that we're supposed to speak here today, where when we've done an analysis of their interactions, internal interactions about customers, they have expected to begin with to see a lot of interactions with their product management teams. And when we actually got the results, we saw that this was a really tiny circle, tiny bubble here on the screen, and we couldn't understand why. And apparently, indeed, they are not interacting enough with their product team. So we're seeing a very vast feedback in here on things that we have expected to see and things that we're actually seeing in real life. We're able to justify the data and we're able to actually take action about this. This is a version that is still under development, but hopefully will be released within a couple of weeks. It has a lot of new content in it and a lot of capabilities, and I'm very, very excited by it and the integrations. So if there are no other questions, and I will give that a minute or two, I would love to get your feedback. One of the foundations where ThunderAct is built on is getting feedback so we can become the best that there is. So please share with us any feedback, any interest. We'll be happy to do any demos. We'll be happy to show you how that works, whether if it's on online reviews, if that's what works for you for the beginning, or with your actual data, which will obviously give us much more information, and see how ThunderAct can actually serve you. Okay, so with that, I would just like to finish by saying again to everybody, thank you. We had a great day with you. We had a wonderful agenda. We're so happy you got exposed to all of these different speakers. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your interest. And we look forward in getting more of your feedback. Thank you very much.